Before planes, before cars, before maps became apps in our pockets, there was only the road beneath our feet. But what if one man chose to follow that road until it circled the entire planet? This is the story of Carl Bushby, the man who vowed to walk home, no matter how long it took. In the age of satellites and supersonic jets, Bushby set out on the slowest, hardest journey imaginable. Not to conquer nations, not to claim treasure, but to honor a promise whispered only to himself. I will leave on foot, and I will return on foot. It sounds like myth, like Odysseus wandering seas of steel and stone. But this was no legend. It began in 1998 at the southern edge of Chile, where the world feels endless and the winds taste of eternity. Carl Bushby took his first step, and he has been walking ever since. Bushby wasn't a celebrity, nor a statesman. He was a soldier, trained by the British Parachute Regiment. But war was not his battlefield. His enemy was time. His mission? To etch his footsteps across every continent of Earth. He called it the Goliath Expedition. One rule, no transport, no shortcuts. Every step forward would be carved into the soil of Earth itself. The journey would be longer than history could imagine, and almost immediately, the world began to test him. The first years were a crucible. From Chile's frozen south, Carl pushed through 2 years of dirt tracks, jungles, deserts, and rain. And then he met his first true monster, the Darién Gap. To outsiders, it is just a blank spot on the map between Colombia and Panama. To those who enter, it is hell's green jaws. No roads, no trails, only jungle so thick the sky disappears. Here, snakes drop from trees. Here, drug smugglers and armed rebels vanish into shadows. Carl joined a group of fellow travelers. For 50 days, they hacked vines, waded rivers, and listened for the metallic crack of gunfire. Soldiers seized him, held him for 18 long days. But still, he walked out alive. When he emerged, he had conquered the place even seasoned explorers called impossible. Years turned into decades. South America fell behind him. Then Central America. Then North. It took 6 years of footsteps, to reach the Arctic edge of Alaska. And there, the world threw its cruelest wall, the Bering Strait. A frozen ocean, 85 kilometers of shifting ice. Imagine it. White silence, cracks groaning under your boots, ice sheets drifting like islands unmoored. Carl, alongside French traveler Dimitri Kiefer, tied themselves to sleds. For days, they crawled across this shifting battlefield of frost. The ice betrayed them, drifting 80 kilometers off course, pulling them toward the sea. But they endured. They became among the first humans in history to walk that divide, where Asia shakes hands with America. Yet victory was brief. In Russia, the cold was not a season. It was a predator. Siberia stretched before him, 11 years of endless tundra, where winter claws at your lungs and the sun itself feels frozen. Minus 50 degrees, boots stiff as stone, villages days apart. And every 90 days, the Russian government forced him out, back across the world, only to return and pick up from the exact spot his feet had stopped. 11 years of exile, 11 years of frostbite and frustration. And still, he walked. What drives a man to suffer so much for so long? It wasn't glory, it wasn't fame. It was a promise, to himself and perhaps to humanity, that a single human being could walk the world. Every footstep was an act of defiance, against governments that detained him, against storms that froze him, against oceans that mocked him. Every step whispered, "I will not stop." And then, the world itself betrayed him. The pandemic. Borders slammed shut, airports emptied, soldiers patrolled streets. For Carl, it was worse than exile. It was a dead end. He was trapped in Kazakhstan. For 4 years, his expedition stood still, and ahead of him, an impossible barrier. the Caspian Sea. He couldn't cross through Russia. He couldn't slip through Iran. The water was his prison. So he made a choice no one in history had dared. He would swim it. With American traveler Angela Maxwell beside him, Carl entered the water. Not a ferry, not a ship, his own arms and legs. 30 days. A small support boat followed. Not to carry them, only to let them sleep before the next plunge. Waves rose, storms lashed, salt burned his eyes. But when their bodies touched the opposite shore, they were no longer just walkers. They were the only humans in history to swim the Caspian Sea. Today, after 47,000 kilometers, 25 countries, and nearly 3 decades, Carl Bushby is crossing Europe. If fate allows, by 2026, he will walk back into his homeland. The man who circled Earth on foot. And what does it mean? That in a world obsessed with speed, with shortcuts, with easy roads, one man proved the hardest road is still worth taking. That loyalty to a promise, to yourself, is stronger than borders, jungles, or frozen seas. Carl's footsteps are not just his own. They are a reminder that no barrier is eternal, that even in the modern age, epic quests still exist. Before planes, before cars, before shortcuts, there was only the road beneath our feet. And Carl Bushby has shown us that sometimes the longest road is the only one worth walking. If this story of endurance and willpower moved you, leave a like and subscribe so that legends like these are never forgotten. And remember, history is not just in books. Sometimes it is written step by step by step.